Hey everyone, in this video, I am excited to share 4 different ways that you can incorporate play into your K through 2 classroom. Research has shown time and time again that there are so many positive benefits to incorporating play into your classroom, and by giving students that opportunity to simply play with their friends. There are social emotional benefits, there are interpersonal skills and relationship skills that students are really building upon during a play session that they don't always get if they are simply working on academic tasks all the time. And while many of us know that, it can still be really difficult to actually have time and make time for students to play in the classroom. So in this video, I'm going to share 4 easy ways we can get this done. If you've watched my videos before, then welcome back. And if you are new here, my name is Susan Jones. I'm a former 1st grade and K through 2 literacy teacher who now spends a lot of time here on YouTube sharing tips, ideas, and strategies for kindergarten, 1st, and 2nd grade teachers just like you. Other than YouTube, I spend a lot of time creating educational resources, subbing at my local K through 2 school, and I'm currently getting my master's degree in curriculum and instruction. I love primary education. I think you love primary education. So let's dive in. Give this video a like, subscribe to my channel, and let's go. The first way to incorporate play in your classroom is to create an open-ended centers time where students are free to explore different things. Now, ideally, if you could do this for 20 minutes a day, it would be great, but if you can't, try to start off with 1 to 2 days a week where you can squeeze in this 20-minute block of unstructured time. I'm lucky enough to work at a school currently where all the kindergarten classrooms have centers time at the end of the day. It's actually for about 30 to 40 minutes each day, and they get to go and move freely from center to center to explore different things. Some of the examples of centers they have include a block center, they have a dollhouse center, Legos, Magnetiles, they have a puppet show, a kitchen area, a bunch of different board games, and they also have some arts and crafts like painting and coloring, scissors, all that fun stuff. Now, each classroom's slightly different and many have more options than that, but those are just some basics that you can get started with. Now, my own son Calvin is in kindergarten and he loves this unstructured time. It is where he can just be with his friends and explore, create, have fun. He's created so many paintings in the past that he has brought home. He has built magnetile towers that he takes pictures of and shares with us on Seesaw. He even created his own little computer out of paper the other day and apparently was, typing on it and having fun. It is just so cute to see what your students can come up with. Now, it might seem that during this open-ended playtime that students are, just playing, even though I put that in quotes because playing is great, but also students are working on so many more skills. They are working on sharing and taking turns. If there are only so many magnetiles and you and your friend want to build a tower, are you going to work together? Are you going to share the tiles? Are you going to say, okay, you can use these ones, I'll use these ones? Students can work out those problems together. On top of that, they really get to put their creative skills and explorative skills to good use. They can use their imaginations. I have seen at puppet shows kids telling stories and retelling stories that they've heard their teacher read aloud. It's so much fun. And one of the biggest perks as a teacher is you really get to understand your students very well when you watch them play. You get to hear the things they talk about, what they're interested in, how they work together. It really gives you a lot of insight and actually some teaching tools to use with your students to help build connections and help them as learners. My only downside to this open-ended play is that I don't often see it outside of kindergarten classrooms. It definitely happens in preschool. Sometimes I see it in kindergarten, but then it totally loses its way in 1st and 2nd grade. And I can tell you as a former teacher of 1st grade students and as a parent of a 1st grader, my 1st grader doesn't need play any less than my kindergartner does. So I really think if we can just fit in 20 minutes of this unstructured activity time, it would benefit students wonderfully. So to sum it up, way number 1 to integrate play into your classroom is to gather some materials and really just set aside 20 minutes and have students go. It may seem stressful and kind of like a free-for-all at first, but I promise you it's worth it. Idea number 2 for integrating play into your classroom is to bring the outdoors indoors. Now, often due to weather and safety concerns, students don't get too much outdoor play when they are at school. And often if they do, it's usually on a playground, which is great. But there's so many things outside in nature that can be brought inside for students to explore. Think about where you live and what's around you, and you can gather so many materials from outside. You can gather rocks, dirt, leaves, bark from trees. You can get snow during the winter time and ice. different seeds you find, pine cones, acorns. And then you can give students materials like magnifying glasses, different pieces of paper, pencils, crayons, and again, have it kind of be this exploration station. Now for this, you could gather all the materials and put them in some sort of bucket and integrate it into your regular day. Maybe you'll have 3 to 4 students go over and just kind of explore the bucket and have their own scientific inquiries for, 10 to 15 minutes at a time. Just like with those unstructured play centers, there doesn't need to be any rules around it. You may want to provide some guiding questions for students or questions they might want to ask, but they can also just go there and explore. They can feel the bark. You can see what questions they come up with as they're looking at these different materials. And you don't have to do this with just nature. That was just one example. I like to actually incorporate this with all of my social studies and science topics. So before we learn something new, let's say you're learning about community helpers, I would try to gather some of my community helper books that I have. I would find photographs, or if I can get my hands on real items, it's even better, of things like a police badge, maybe a fire station. I might find some envelopes and stamps, a construction hat, and kind of put them all in a bucket for students to explore. Now again, you don't have to provide too much context, but instead you can let students know that we're soon going to be learning about community helpers. Here is our exploration bucket. And maybe as they rotate through that center with their group, maybe their goal is to come up with questions that they have about the topic they're soon going to learn about. The third way to integrate play is probably the most common I see in classrooms because it seems like it's the easiest one to align with academic skills, and that's going to be to play academic games. Now, while there are so many benefits of inquiry-based stations like the last one I shared or an open-ended center, there are still benefits to playing guided, crafted games that you made for your students. If you followed my channel a while, you will know I have shared so many games in the past. My favorite games to play are print and play math games and print and play phonics games. These are all in black and white. They are partner games where students can simply print them out, grab some dice and crayons, and start playing. Not only are students reviewing different academic skills with these games, but they are practicing a whole lot more. I do set my games up so there is a winner, which means there's a loser. They have to work on taking turns, partner play, not cheating. They might get into some arguments that they have to figure out. They might have to figure out who's going to go first and how to make that fair. There are so many different skills students work on when they are playing competitive games towards one another. So if you're not already incorporating games in the class, I highly recommend it. There are tons of academic board games you can purchase. I'll also link those math and phonics ones down below in case you want to check them out. And also my channel is filled with games, so just go take a peek. And the fourth way to bring in some play in your own classroom is to create a themed dramatic play area. Now that might sound a little overwhelming, but it's very similar to the second one I shared where you're kind of bringing in those social studies and science skills to your classroom. But with these, you can have really fun and creative themes where you tie in both social emotional play learning, you tie in pretend play for students to practice, and you can tie in some academic skills. Now to highlight a perfect example, one of my best friends, Haley O'Connor, she looks like this, she has a TPT store. She just came out with a vet themed one, so let me show you what that looks like. Here's what her vet clinic dramatic play center looks like, and the way she set this up, students could really do this in preschool all the way up to first grade, depending on what you want them to work on. Now she explains that pretending to be a vet or a doctor is a great way for children to model empathy and compassion, and when students get to use pretend play, they get to model appropriate and inappropriate actions in a safe environment. Also, as a quick disclaimer, because this is a veterinary center and students will be using medicine and medical tools, it is important that you explain this as pretend, and if they wanted to do these things in real life, of course, they should have an adult help. Now, these types of activities are great for social emotional learning because as they will be playing the vet in this scenario, pets are going to come in, they're going to be sick, they're going to be injured, the owner might be feeling angry, sad, sick, or upset. There'll be all these different scenarios that students will have to work through. And the best part is students can make up these scenarios on their own. So while they're pretending to play, they can have one student be the owner, the other student is the patient, or the owner of the patient, since the patient would be an animal, and they can share what's wrong with their pet, how much pain they're experiencing, how they're feeling as the owner, and then the vet can decide what to do. You can extend this into reading and writing, and you can set up appointment trackers. They can have a pet check-in, calendars, patient records, exam checklist. You can really make this as in depth as you would like to. They can give prescriptions and see if their pets need any shots. Along with all sorts of labels and different ideas of tools you can have in this center, I also love that something like a veterinary clinic would also have students practice payment. This is a great way to introduce and review financial literacy and number sense, as patients can go ahead and pay the vet after they're done. She also includes great pictures like x-rays and different diagrams of different animals that might be going into the vet clinic. This gets students thinking just beyond the typical cat and dog that they probably would think of when they think of a vet. And then she also includes a bunch of academic extensions where they can measure patient lengths and measure patient weights. They can do little check-ins, diagrams, and they can even practice addition and subtraction by fixing invoices that were purposely made wrong, and they can try to fix it before they give their invoice back. Now that's of course a very specific themed dramatic play area that you could set up in your classroom, but I just thought that was so, high engagement, and you could really throw in so many skills there that it just seemed like so much fun. I had to share it with you all. My understanding is she's going to be coming out with a few more of these centers, but I will link that one down in the description below in case you want to check it out. All right, to quickly review the 4 ways to integrate play into your classroom. Number 1 is to create an open-ended playtime. Number 2 is to bring social studies and science into your classroom by creating an inquiry-based center. Number 3 is to make sure your students are playing lots of academic games. And number 4, you could create a themed dramatic play area. Now, I would love to know if you incorporate play in your own classroom, and if you do, how do you do that? Also, let me know what grade level you teach, because again, I find that it is much more prevalent in kindergarten classrooms, even though you could easily incorporate these types of play activities in 1st and 2nd grade classrooms as well. So let me know down in the comments. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video and you got some ideas that you could take and use in your own classroom right away. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and click that bell. That way you're notified of every new video. See you in the next one. Bye.